Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Stephen Cain. I help people with peripheral neuropathy get out of pain and back to doing the things that they love doing. One of the ways that I help you do this is by connecting you with the people, products, and services that can all help you get better. And today we are very lucky to be joined by Bill Nolan. He's a professional chef and culinary educator in the Chicago area, and he also happens to have peripheral neuropathy himself. Since he had this diagnosis, he's become very fascinated between the connection of improving your diet and alleviating some of your neuropathy symptoms. And today he's going to share with us his story as well as give us some tips as to how we can make eating a healthy diet also taste very good. So thank you very much for joining us, Bill.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off just hearing a bit more about your story and the neuropathy you developed and how you used nutrition to help make yourself feel better.
Sure, sure. I was diagnosed almost exactly a year ago. And I had, where this all started, the journey on this started 3 years ago.
Hmm.
I had a surgery, I had a spinal fusion at L5S1. And almost within, I would say, 2 to 3 days following the surgery, I started to develop some really weird symptoms. Extremely cold feet, not cold to the touch, of course, but feeling like blocks of ice, pins and needles from my feet to my knees. And my surgeon attributed it to nerves waking up after surgery and so forth. And we treated it that way for a couple of years, and it never really got any better. To fast forward, what I ended up doing was I ended up at the Mayo Clinic last winter for about 3 visits because nobody around here could get a handle on it, and they diagnosed it as peripheral neuropathy. So that was a real eye opener for me for something I'd read about before. And strangely enough, my wife, 2 months into this, said, it sounds to me like you've got neuropathy. And my wife works in the legal profession, so she's not a healthcare provider at all. But you read things on the internet and so forth, and it turns out that that's what I have. So since that happened, being a professional chef and being someone who's always been interested in healthy food, it piqued my interest to see, what the connection is between what we're eating and what our overall health is, and how maybe we can make a difference as we're all patients of neuropathy that have neuropathy, to improve our health by just making some changes in our diets.
Yeah, awesome. So what type of nutritional changes did you make in your diet and how has that worked for you?
It's really interesting. It's been a learning process. And one thing I want to say right at the onset, it's been a fascinating journey. I think when you and I talked on the phone the other day, in a way, this diagnosis for me has kind of been a blessing. I don't want to have neuropathy, but it's opened up a lot of avenues for me and opened up my eyes. I've always been a healthy eater. I'm in shape. I take care of myself. I don't have any bad habits. But it's changed the way that I look at food, as far as how I look at gluten, how I look at sugars, how I look at eating more organic foods, how staying away from processed foods, and all the things that I've kind of tried to steer myself in that direction as a professional chef. But now I even have another reason to do so.
Hmm.
So I've been working in concert with my neurologist here, who practices functional medicine, and we do electroacupuncture. We talk about Tai Chi. I practice Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga. And so it's really taking, a little bit of the alternative approach. It's not just medication, but it's also lifestyle, which includes, of course, diet.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I love to hear that because I feel like so many people get way too warped into one pillar of all the things that can help them with their neuropathy. Some people think it's all about the nutrition; they got to have the perfect supplement or the perfect diet, and then some people say, "Oh, I got to get this vibration unit, or I got to do the acupuncture, or whatever." As opposed to the whole smorgasbord, everything that can potentially help your nerves, and taking that mindset. So, yeah, I'm real glad to hear that your neurologist has a functional medicine approach and that you've been taking that. So what's been your journey in terms of recovery, or in terms of improving upon your symptoms and better managing your neuropathy?
Sure, sure. Great question. Before I started seeing my current neurologist that I have, who I just absolutely love, she's fantastic, and opened up these avenues of what we could try. It was strictly medication before I saw her.
Hmm.
Now I still have medication. I still do some medication, but I'm trying to taper off on that. And what's worked for me so far, the acupuncture has been effective. It's a short term, but it helps lessen the pain. And we started on a program of that. So it's been the neuropathy, or it's been the acupuncture, it's been the Tai Chi for balance. I was having balance issues, and
Hmm.
that's one of the things that they picked up at Mayo right away. They said, you've got some balance issues, and I'm a 60-year-old guy, and I'm thinking, I ride my bike. I used to be able to go out and ride my bike a long way, not as much anymore. But I'm thinking, wow, what's going on here? Balance issues too. But of course, now we know that's part of the neuropathy deal. So, introducing Tai Chi has helped that a lot. The acupuncture has helped that a lot. Medical marijuana, we're in Illinois. Illinois has a pilot program for medical marijuana,
Uh-huh.
and I found that some strains of medical marijuana have worked for me
Hmm.
as far as some of the symptoms. One of the things that I have for my symptoms, in addition to the leg and foot pain, are hypersensitivity in my skin. So it jumps around almost like shingles
Okay.
without the blisters. Very strange, moves around, autoimmune related probably, and so it goes to my left arm, left leg, and then it'll move around. The medical marijuana has completely taken those symptoms away
Okay.
for me, which is pretty
Fantastic.
amazing. And
Yeah.
it's a high CBD blend, so I can
Okay.
function daily. I can go to work. I can do my normal routine. So that's been really an eye opener for me. And so looking at these different things that I've done, and all of this was introduced to be my physician, my neurologist. So,
Okay.
the medical marijuana is something to try, the Tai Chi, Qigong, acupuncture, and now diet. And so I think that's the next logical step. And I thought, well, being a chef and something that I do as a living, I don't have any excuse not to try it.
Okay. So what changes did you make within your diet since you
Right
developed
now, I'm
neuropathy?
in the process of. I first tried to going through an elimination, a modified elimination diet of omitting gluten to
Hmm.
see if there was any gluten sensitivities that might be triggering some things that were going on. I didn't notice any big change with gluten. I gave it about a month and a half. Maybe I should give it longer. It's a whole lifestyle change, and one of the things that I when I talk to people about this and say, well, when you mention the word diet, right away, it usually for most people has a negative connotation. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I got to eat this food that doesn't taste good.
Uh-huh.
That's not the way it is. You
Uh-huh.
know that, I know that, and patients need to understand that too. So, the gluten came first. Now I'm going to be starting probably right after Christmas because the holidays are here. Omitting sugar and dairy and see if that makes a difference in the symptoms that I have. So we'll try that for a couple months and see where that goes. But in the meantime, finding alternative ways to make the foods that you like by ingredient substitution, sourcing recipes that fit the parameters of what we should be eating, which are, organic, minimally or not processed at all, the food not processed at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
The whole 9 yards of what we're talking about with the healthy lifestyle and food as the basis for it. When people talk to me or I talk to people about this, especially friends and family, and right away they say, "Oh, the gluten thing, that's crazy talk, and that's dairy, that's crazy talk." Well, if you haven't really tried that as a solution, you don't really know. And the one thing that I always say to folks when I talk as well is, I look at it as equated with your car. Would you put water in your gas tank? No. So you should be putting nutrients into your body, phytonutrients into your body to help your cells do their job and what they're supposed to be doing. So we feed our body, we nourish our body, and our body will be good to us. And I think in this journey and what I hope to accomplish over the next several months or several years is finding out how to effectively do that and share what I have with others.
Yeah, and that's going to be an extremely valuable thing as you continue on that journey and just really find because that's the perfect blend of someone who's experienced it. You have the background, the story as you continue to research and understand more about what works for you, what's working for other people. But most importantly, what is not commonly going to be in that blend is the chef background, actually having your entire life's work that's dedicated to making food taste good and people love it. That's going to be something that really has to come into the forefront of how to make this sustainable, how to get people to actually eat these foods that are good for them and continue doing it. Because if it doesn't taste good, the majority of people are not going to continue doing it. Maybe they'll try it for a bit, but
Yeah.
they're not going to continue doing it. And as a health coach, That's probably the most important thing that I emphasize for anyone trying to make a change in their nutrition or exercise or any lifestyle habit, is make it as enjoyable as possible. Make it intrinsically motivating so that you want to do it, you continue doing it. So yeah, I'm very happy, very excited that you're doing this work. So when it comes to and I understand it's probably tough to boil down, a whole, lifetime of culinary experience. But do you have any kind of overarching tips or approaches that people can take to making a healthy diet, something that's good for their neuropathy, also tastes good?
Oh, sure, sure. The first number one is to have an open mind. And you need to have an open mind. And this goes back to my days before neuropathy, when I was trying as a chef to have people try new things. And you get into certain populations and age groups, and I'm not picking on any age groups. It could be little kids, it could be older folks, it could be people that are in the middle. But to have people have an open mind and say, well, why don't you try this before you say that it's not really going to work? That's number one. Number two is, research as much as you can. Thankfully, I look now to what we're able to, what we're able to find out by doing research on the internet, looking at recipes, looking at the research that's already been done, and talking to folks. Forums that are out there and what's been done, and then experiment. If you're not really comfortable with cooking, the big thing about this is, to me, a lot of it is, and I believe in this before neuropathy, people are better off eating most of the food that they eat should be made by themselves. I mean, it is, it is what it is. I think when you make your own food, you know what's in it. The ingredients are minimal, and so the other thing is, if people are not comfortable in the kitchen, take a cooking class. Learn how to cook. Learn
Mm-hmm.
your way around the kitchen. It's not as difficult as you think.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to a culinary school and get a 2 or 4 year degree, as professional chefs might do. But you need to be comfortable in the kitchen. So you could go to your local community college. You could go to a store, a retail store. I won't name any stores, but we know they're all out there that offer cooking classes. And be comfortable in the kitchen, how to use a knife, and then try recipes. You try recipes and go to sources that you can try things out, and don't try to make the changes all at once. Introduce them slowly into your diet. Brightly colored food. Phytonutrients.
Absolutely. Yep.
Brightly
Yep.
colored. Again, I'm talking to the choir here. But it's brightly colored food, minimal ingredients. If there's more than 5 ingredients on something you pick up at the store, you probably don't want to. You don't want to eat it. And I'm quoting other authors here that have written about this. Michael Pollan, for one, it's if you can't pronounce something that's on a package, you may not want to
Yeah.
eat it.
Uh-huh.
And from a chef standpoint, somebody who cooks every day, it's a lot better for me to cook with 5 ingredients than with 15. There's less dishes to do in the end, for one thing.
There you
But
go.
you're putting better things in your body. So keeping that open mind, getting your skill set up if you're not really comfortable in the kitchen, and being open to asking questions and trying new things. I've been teaching people to cook for 20 years, and this is going to be my next step, is teaching people how to cook for health issues that they have. And the great thing about a diet that I think is good, and what I've read and research we've done for neuropathy, it's not only good for people with neuropathy, it's good for everybody. It's the way a lot of people should be eating.
Mm-hmm.
So clean food, get away from pesticides, get away from hormones, get away from the dirty stuff that's in food, and make it clean. If you're a vegetarian or vegan, great. Just make sure you get your protein from another source if you're not
Right.
getting it from a meat protein.
Mm-hmm.
Grass-fed beef, wild caught salmon, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something earlier that I find pretty interesting, and I think is something that people are going to need to consider. Is you're talking about different demographics, and whether it's age groups or ethnicities. And I was actually talking with someone that works at the diabetes center at one of the local hospitals, and she said that they essentially divided up the people that would guide people with diabetes. They would have a lady that was African American, work with the African American population, and Latina, work with the Latin population, just because they can speak the terms, they can communicate, and you tell she said, when I tell, or if someone would tell the African Americans to have a salad or whatever, that they would go, nah, that's not what we do. When they talk about greens, then they say, oh yeah, greens, yeah, I got that, okay, sure, I gotcha. So I'm curious from your perspective, are there have you noticed that there's a bit of a cultural barrier in terms of people that you work with? That does it tend to be more Caucasians that might gravitate towards you, or have you noticed that just cultures across the board are happy to try out your recipes or kind of follow your direction?
Yeah, it's interesting. The people that I come across, I love that approach. Or what you're saying is get people, basically people that are that they're comfortable with, whether it's African Americans or Hispanics or Asians or whatever, to can or even older folks.
Hmm.
Get older folks that are into healthy eating. I've come across most of the problem that I've had is with older folks that don't, they say, well, I've been eating this way for 50 years and I'm
Okay.
still walking around. And it's like, well, yeah, but look in the mirror. And you don't want to say that to somebody because, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or insult them. But, you probably do the same thing. When I go to the grocery store, the first thing I do, and and I'm in the grocery store every day. I go to the grocery store, I look at people's carts. I see what's in the cart, and then I look at them. And I'm not judging them. I'm just seeing if there's a correlation to what's in their cart
Uh-huh.
and how they look. And how they look might not be their overall health picture, but it's about to me, it's about a soft approach. If I'm dealing with somebody who's 80 years old, they're a little bit older than me. If I'm dealing with somebody who's a different culture, they're a different culture than me, but it's that soft approach.
Yeah.
I try to use, I think for me, that's the key. If I'm dealing with a different demographic, a different population, I use a soft approach, non-threatening. I don't
Uh-huh.
like to use the word diet. Say, hey, you know what? You should try this. And I actually have a file of recipes that I call my conversion files that I've converted people to foods that they said, I'll never eat that. One being Brussels sprouts. People, it's one of those foods. They either love them or they hate them. And I made it for people, and they said, this is really good. What was it? I said, it was Brussels sprouts. And they're shocked. Well, because it's disguised. It's been shredded and it's been sauteed and it's very healthy. But they don't know that they're eating it. And once they eat it, they say, okay. So it's really being non-threatening. But I do love going back to that approach of getting somebody that they're familiar with to talk to them about the food. And they're more trusting, I think, just by nature. We all would be.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great approach, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I've noticed in the older demographic is that definitely when it comes to preventative changes, or they're not in pain yet. Perhaps they don't want to make a whole lot of changes. As you said, they've been eating that way for 50 years, so why change? But I have noticed the more pain that they have, so people that have peripheral neuropathy, that then they start becoming a bit more flexible or open-minded. Like, okay, if this is what I got to do to get out of this excruciating pain, then pain's a powerful motivator. Is I guess what I'm getting at. So whether whatever age or culture that someone's in, I think that they're happy to try the Brussels sprouts or whatever it is that's gonna help them feel better. So that's just something
Right.
that I've noticed.
Yeah, I think that's key. You just hit on a great point. Pain is an incredible motivator. And, if you can tell people, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this too, since I'm a patient myself, hopefully I can talk to people and say, hey, look, I know what you're going through. I
Hmm.
know the pain. I know waking up in the middle of the night and your feet feel like they're on fire. I feel mine sometimes feel like they're in place, my legs.
Uh-huh.
I know what that's like. But maybe if you let's try to cut sugar. Let's try to cut gluten. Let's try to cut dairy, or just eat an overall healthier diet.
Yeah.
Without the processed foods. And some of that has worked for me, and that's why I'm going through this as well. And again, it's a process of discovery. I've only been with my current doctor for less than a year, and it's been such a learning experience working with her. And I can't wait to learn more and see what we can together find out and share with others.
Yeah, awesome, beautiful. Yeah, you're already on doing some great work, and I'm really looking forward to
Thank you.
as this project comes together for you, and you've got more and more information, more blog articles, more recipes out there for people with neuropathy, because it's something very much they need to see. That pain a lot of times can motivate them to make changes, but for them to continue with it, because I've worked with a lot of people that have neuropathy, and a lot of times they start to feel better, and then they fall off the bandwagon, and then there's this
Sure.
bit of a yo-yo. But the more they can find those delicious recipes, the more they're going to continue and not fall off the bandwagon. They continue for years, the rest of their life, and continue to feel better. So yeah, it's extremely important work that you're doing. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. So how can people get connected with you? Is there a particular email address they can reach out to you at, or a website?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a website, nolanhospitality.com, that they can go to. Best is email right now. My website is being, it's up and it's active, but it's being revised to add in the neuropathy piece and food as medicine and more
Hmm.
information on that. People are welcome to email me at bill at nolan-hospitality.com. And I will answer their emails, any questions that they have, share knowledge that I have with them about the project and what's going on with this. And I hope to, by probably the end of January, I hope to have a good presence on my website for what's going on. And so if you'd like to revisit this, like we said, we can talk about that and what's going on with those additions and kind of watch this work in progress. I'd be more than happy to do that. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd love to do one of these interviews because this is such an important message for people to get. How do they actually make doing these things that's so important for them to do and to get better and to make it enjoyable and taste good. So, yeah, you're definitely more than welcome to come back on and do another interview, and it's going to be a great
Thank you.
thing for people to see. So beautiful, and we'll have links for your email address as well as the website, which sounds like late January should be ready to go. We'll have those in the description for the video. Any final words you want to leave the viewers with?
No, I think, final words. Number one, thank you for having me on. It's really been great. And I think the more we get this message out and really work together, I think there's a real collaboration out there. Folks like yourself that are practitioners that are out there working with chefs, working with anybody who can help patients. I think that's kudos to you for doing that, looking at the whole approach with it. And I think to the patients and your followers, really is, again, have that open mind, and don't just take an answer that you may get from one doctor and say, okay, you need to be on this drug and that's it and live with it. That's not the answer. Be your own advocate. I think you need to be your own advocate when it comes to your health. If you're not happy with what the answers you're getting, find another practitioner. Maybe you're not seeing the right one. Maybe you are. I'm not here to diss any doctors or anything like that, but it's your health. It's your health to manage, and there's a lot of people out there willing to help you with it, and so take advantage of that.
Beautiful, beautiful, love it. Yeah, so similar message to that. What I always want to leave people with is that there's so many things out there that can potentially help you. So be your own advocate. Continue to educate yourself. Check out our other videos on YouTube. You can check out our website. We'll have links for those in the description as well. And just stay relentless. Continue to try these different things, like Bill's doing, in terms of testing out different diets, try out different exercises, try out different therapies that can help you out. Because there's literally an infinite number of combinations that can potentially help you out, and you eventually find out that right recipe for you, and you can definitely be feeling better. So thanks for joining us, Bill, and thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you all in the next video.
Right.
All right, take care.